Hey everybody, it's Scully. In today's video, I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about a rather important topic that a lot of us have probably dealt with at some point. I wanted to talk about bullying. So I understand this is a pretty controversial topic, so I'll try to tread lightly on this one. So yeah, bullying is a very difficult thing to deal with. It can happen at any age. It can happen for pretty much any reason. Heck, people don't have to try too hard these days. It seems like it's every little thing you can be bullied about nowadays. But it also comes in many forms. One of the more common types of bullying is probably more direct, whether it's in person or if it's not in person, it could be something like somebody gossiping about you behind your back or body shaming, poking fun at you for your appearance are very common reasons for people to be bullied. And there's a lot of reasons, but that's just to name a few. It can also happen online, like cyberbullying. And most people with cyberbullying, they tend to think it's like, yes, there's negative comments on people's pictures, there's mocking their appearance, making fun of things like if they made a typo on something, their profile picture. There's a lot of very easy things for people to be made fun of online. But online bullying can follow you just as much, so if not probably more than in person, because even like a lot of people will get bullied, especially when they're younger, like in school. But then if you come home and then that same person has you on social media and then they bring it on there, like on your Facebook page or any of that stuff, then it can follow you a lot more than it maybe would have a long time ago due to all the advances in technology. But yeah, people tend to think it's things like making fun of somebody's pictures and maybe quoting certain things they've said and made fun of them. I mean, I know a lot of times people can get made fun of for certain opinions they have, which, I mean, that's a little bit more complicated, so I won't really go too deep into that one. But people, like online, they can get very personal information about you. I've heard stories where people were getting bullied online, maybe by some random person. At first, it was just the person being mean, but then they hacked their bank account, they got their social security number, they tried to find ways to make their life very miserable. They even tried to make false accusations against them to ruin their reputation. And yes, there's legal ramifications for things like that, but I mean, once the damage is done, I mean, even psychologically, it stays with you. And people don't always realize how serious bullying is. I don't think that people mean to be insensitive about it, but they tell you to ignore it. They tell you to walk away, or they'll go pick on somebody else. They'll get bored with you. They won't bully you forever. Well, maybe they won't bully you forever, but it's still very hurtful and it still stays with people, especially when you're younger and you're not used to dealing with that kind of thing. And even as a kid, other kids can be so mean to each other, and people look past that because they're younger. Or, oh, they're just being a kid. They don't know what they're doing. Well, they don't always realize what other people are capable of, or how far it can go, how far it can escalate. Even if you're younger, especially if they turn other people against you that you thought were your friends. And it's just such a difficult thing for anybody to go through, but especially if you're very, very young. And people don't always realize that bullying can lead to a lot of psychological issues, and not even just depression or, people taking their own lives. It can lead to body image issues, like if they've been body shamed, it can lead to eating disorders. There can be some bullying, especially if it gets physical, where people can have, trauma-related disorders from it, like PTSD, which I would hope would not happen very often, but I mean, it can. I mean, some people who experience very extreme types of bullying can have very severe lasting effects for the rest of their lives, and that's why when people take it lightly and they don't do anything to help them, the person who's being bullied can feel very isolated, very misunderstood. And it's just so much for one person to deal with alone. And sometimes even once you've talked to somebody about it, it doesn't always get better, or you've tried certain things like walking away and it just keeps happening. And honestly, I can't give any one solution to bullying because every situation is different, so to speak. But I can speak from my own personal experience. I won't go too deep into it, of course, but yeah, again, a lot of people deal with bullying. From my own personal experience, I did find some things rather helpful. They may work for other people, they may not. But some things I felt rather helpful, even if they were very, very small, subtle things. I felt even having just a couple close friends, even just one or two, maybe three people, if they truly knew me very well, if they were by my side, and I always knew I could trust them and count on them no matter what, they wouldn't join in with the teasing, they would stick by my side. It was reassuring just to even have just one friend, one person there for me, knowing the real me, who wasn't going to turn their back on me or be fake and then actually be one of the bullies too, like in disguise. It was comforting to have at least the one person who was there for me. And people who are being bullied, they need support. They need people that know the real them, and they're not going to just join in on the teasing. They're going to actually stick up for them and give their life some meaning, some hope. Because when you're holding on like that for so long and dealing with things like this, maybe even in secret, maybe not even telling people, because not everybody does, some people internalize it, having at least just a couple people there for you can really make a difference. And I really don't think a lot of people realize that. So if you witness somebody being bullied, it is in your best interest to maybe check on that person, see if they're okay. I mean, you could be that one person that made their day better, that gave them a reason to keep going, and you may not even realize it. So always remember that if you see somebody who seems like they're struggling, I mean, it can take as little as one person to really change their perspective on things and give them a reason to keep going and maybe even give life a second chance. You just never know. So yeah, having support was very helpful. Distraction was very helpful, but this comes in many forms. In some past circumstances, I faced things like that at school. So I found myself becoming more involved in things outside of school where the bullying was not present, or just even something to get my mind off it, to keep me just on something, focused on something that was healthier, something that was not the bullying, not the teasing. You know, if I was at school really having a bad day, if I could just look forward to coming home and just drawing pictures, writing poetry, talking to my friend on the phone, or having a sleepover, I could just really kind of put my mind on something else other than what was going on. And I mean, it made a huge difference after a while, because that just kind of took my mind off of things. And in various circumstances, maybe if I couldn't get away from some of the teasing, and if I knew it was just going to keep happening, I would try to make myself less fun to make fun of, which again can also come in many different ways. But I always felt that, like, if I kind of made fun of myself a little bit, okay, they tell me I'm weird. Oh, she's weird. Why is she weird? Let's call her weird girl. Okay, well, if I knew I was weird, oh yeah, oh, I'm so weird. Oh my gosh, yeah, right? Like why am I so weird? Ha ha ha. Well, suddenly that's not so fun to make fun of anymore if I already know that about myself and I've embraced it, and, you know, they're saying some insult to me and I'm laughing twice as hard about the insult even though it's about me. I mean, okay, well, they might try to find other things to make fun of, like maybe they'll make fun of my appearance or something instead, but I guess I just kind of figured after a while maybe they'd run out of things to make fun of me about. Or, I don't know, maybe they'd make fun of somebody else. I mean, I wouldn't wish it on another person, but sometimes they do move on to other people. They move on to other things. But to tell you the truth about bullies, they usually don't have a very good home life, or they have very poor self-esteem issues. They have things going on that's very painful in their life that they're probably even having a hard time dealing with. But, you know, obviously they don't feel good about themselves, so they want to put that feeling onto somebody else. They want to have power by making somebody else feel lousy about themselves to make themselves feel better. Usually it's short-lived, because then they'll eventually feel bad for making fun of the other person. I mean, maybe some people can make fun of other people and not feel remorse, but most of the time people who people who are bullied could even be being bullied themselves, and it could even be at home. They could have a bad home life. So maybe that 5 minutes they're taunting somebody else, they're getting away from their trauma. But there are a lot of reasons that people can be bullied. I mean, there can be other psychological issues as well. But I know I've had bullies before where their home life wasn't so great. Little did I know, and I kind of actually felt a little bad for them after a while when I found out. And I'm even friends with people now. They used to bully me, which is kind of interesting. I mean, life's funny that way. But even though this video is a little random, I just really hope that this speaks loudly to some people, because you're not alone if you're being bullied. It happens to a lot of people, and it is an issue that needs to be discussed, because it won't get better until we do. So until it becomes a more better issue to be dealt with in the real world, we can start by talking about it and hopefully make things better. So hang in there. But until then, have a great day, guys.